So we need to get into this. So, as South Africa ushers in a new academic year, thousands of hopeful students and parents are making life shaping decisions about where to study, what to pay, and who to trust. But alongside genuine institutions, a dangerous trend it continues to resurface. Bogus colleges are mushrooming and preying on the ambition, desperation, and misinformation. This morning, we are going to be speaking to Dr. Makhapa Makhafola, the Chief Operating Officer of the South African Qualifications Authority, SAQA, as the executive responsible for leading NQF Operations and driving SAQA's core mandates. Dr. Makhafola sits at the center of how qualifications are recognized, protected, and regulated in the country. Dr. M, good morning.
Good morning, Saku. How are you? And thank you for inviting us to have a conversation with you. And we really appreciate these platforms because it helps us to really touch most of our listeners and audience who are online.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to collecting my NQF level 10 in the next tentatively about 7 years, soon that we're still busy with the SAQA. I already have my NQF level 7, 8. Yeah, so now we are heading to 9. So we're very excited about that one.
Then you're talking to the wrong person because I'll make sure I'll keep an eye on you. I'll call you every 2 years to ask how far are you with that.
Accountability is really good, especially in education. There's nothing wrong with an accountability mentor. Someone who's there to say, listen, in fact, I'm the COO of SAQA, so I can just search your name now and see what you're doing. So let's talk about this. I mean, I think this year we've seen probably the most learners who have not graduated but matriculated, right? We were almost nearing about 1 million. And when we look at what our universities and the capacity that they have, it didn't necessarily match that of the matriculants. I'm sure there's a bit of a tug that happens to, your departments when you see the matriculants getting all these beautiful results and you think about the relation and or correlation to university space, and it doesn't really match, and it happens year on year. What are your thoughts on that?
I think one of the biggest challenges that we have, and this is around, we don't have enough education institutions to cater for the numbers and the masses. And it's something that, we work, as government, we need to really work hard towards. And not only that, I think one of the things I always advise the country as a whole, that we have the tendency of thinking, higher education in terms of universities. There's other opportunities that the learners can look at. We have TVET colleges, we have public colleges. And again, there's opportunities of internship learnerships that after matric people can take as well. So, we find ourselves in this unfortunate space where our achievements are beyond, what is out there. I always say, issue of supply and demand. And you'll always have these piranhas just sitting to pounce on such opportunities. And it's our role to really try to talk to the communities to be careful not to be lured into losing their money in some of these bogus institutions.
But how do you identify them? I think people have also become quite lucrative in their scamming. It's very difficult now to kind of say, okay, but this one looks good. And when you think about training as well and training organization and institutions, it's very hard to kind of spot what's working, what's not, what's there, what's real. And so, based off of the work that you guys do, how have you been able to identify the differences?
Look, one of the things that I give one of the weirdest examples that, online shopping is what most of people are doing. And there was a scam recently, I'll use that as an example, where people pretend to be K-Way, but the issues of address, especially around online, and there has to be a physical address. There has to be somewhere where if you're running as an organization, you have a physical address. So don't be lured into, and in terms of how the addresses, you look at the website as well. So some of the address that I use is not related to the name of the institution. And that's one good example. And this is where people fall prey to such, especially the online one. And in terms of the physical one, and sometimes I say, your naked eye must be able to help you as such. And especially most of these institutions, you find them in downtown Johannesburg. where, I mean, if you look how institutions are set up, I mean, there's an infrastructure, there's a control gate where, there's very clear signs in terms of registrations and who to go to. But in places like those, I mean, you find them in downtown, very dodgy. There's a hair salon next door, there's somebody who's just selling something, and the very same person who's doing the hairs, it just comes to be the receptionist who tend to help you. And some of them is they are very sophisticated. You find that they've set up such that you see that it might be something. But again, always what we're saying to them, where people are promising you that you can get 2 degrees for the price of one, and I think to me there's nothing like that. So people need to understand that for you to have NQF level 7, and what I like that part is to make sure, I mean, you have to go through a 3-year growing process. There's no way you can get a degree in 1 year. It doesn't exist. And something that our learners must be careful of. I mean, you cannot cut corners as far as qualification is concerned as well. And then one of the things they to guarantee, they'll tell you, once you complete our qualification, you're guaranteed a job. I mean, there's nothing like that. I mean, you cannot talk about, securing a job immediately after that. I mean, yes, we have to go through a whole lot of things and challenges. And the issues around, most of them tend to use that we're internationally accredited. You cannot operate in South Africa and tell us that you're internationally accredited. You have to go through our national accreditation processes. And you just have to go through Council on Higher Education, you have to come through SAQA, and then you have to register the Department of Higher Education Training. You cannot come and operate in any other country without going through there. And I think to me, I think those are things that people need to look at as well. And then they tend to use some of this, international. Somebody says University of Washington. I mean, things like that is one of the trends that people have to look at. So I think to me, I plead to to the audience and to parents, but particularly and the learners to let's just be mindful of that. And sometimes people can fake and put some of our say I'm SAQA accredited and all those things, but please check with SAQA, check with the Department of Education and Training, and can be able to share with you, in terms of which colleges are registered, and then in terms of what programs. Sometimes you can register the department, but still offer programs that are not accredited. So it's important that even if it's registered, the qualification that's on offer, it is on a national record database that SAQA is in charge of.
I want to put an analogy on the table. So if you are, let's say, a public driver or a transport driver without a permit, what they do is they don't completely ban you off the road. They just say, no, this is how you can get your permit within 3 to 5 business days or whatever. Here's your permit. You can get back on the road. If I go to this bogus college, I didn't know it was a bogus college, and I studied, I put in the work, I read the books, I wrote the tests, and I obtained what could be depicted as a degree. But in the case it's not a degree. Can SAQA assist with crediting that, or is it completely null and void?
It's completely null and void because, first of all, you misrepresent yourself. You cannot, because we have clear processes in terms of how, and the issue of accreditation is not as easy as that. Remember, we have to check the credibility, the teaching. I mean, I always say how you do assessment, the people who are supposed to offer this particular qualification, the infrastructure in terms of library, the kind of support needs to be there, because those are things that people can pick up as well. So you cannot just come and decide. It's not like, I mean, even if you file without a driver license, you are, I mean, going to be charged, and you can even, be with a fine as well. So in this particular case, I mean, you cannot operate outside the law and thinking that you can just cut corners. I mean, there's a requirement for you to operate. There's a requirement for you to offer a program. Qualification is something that you can test it for 2 days and write an online test. You need to really go through. You have to look at your financial records. Is it sound for you to be able to run such an institution? And I think those are things that we cannot just we can reaccredit you, but I mean, that is why we're proactive, especially in terms of the private colleges, to try and, say to people, I mean, this is how we operate. And most of them there, we run workshops, we post on our website. So the information is there. And just people, I mean, they always take a chance, especially what we're faced with now, when you have this huge number of our learners who just complete matric and they don't have anywhere to go. And people use the space. And I always say, this is not a South African problem. It's beyond South Africa. I mean, we have all these things. I mean, if you're aware of in Asia, we have one of the most notorious organization that is selling certificates online, an MBA in 2 days, and people are paying a whole lot of money. So, and these people, they're not only, you find them in Australia. I mean, I saw the Ministry of Education in Australia the other day was complaining about Bogus institution, about some of this fraudulent certificate that they find themselves in Australia. And we are part of the GAIN movement. We're trying to manage both fraudulent qualifications plus issues of bogus colleges. So this is one of our always. I mean, it's a global threat. It's a global risk to how education system is, and I think we can work as a collective for us to be able to fight this, and something that I plead to the community as a whole, to the country, that let's just be vigilant and be careful against these piranhas.
I can't help but empathize because when I matriculated 10 years ago it was during the Fees Must Fall protests, right? And my parents, we had to sit down and we were faced with the tough decision to say, okay dude, like you can't go to public because they might just shut down, and we don't like that level of uncertainty. I think thanks to privilege I had the option to go to private. But when I think about families, man, I mean, there's single parents out there who are barely making ends meet already. Universities are so tough. So it's sad that we've weaponized something so harsh already, the harsh reality of young people, that they just want more. I mean, I can't believe we're sitting here talking about people fighting for an education, something that we already had deemed to be a basic right.
Yeah.
As a fellow young person who has a platform like this, in what ways can we also kind of spread that message? For me, I'm very, and I said this because I was speaking to the QCTO team, so I'm a very big fan of the higher education and training sector, the SAQAs, the QCTOs, the CETAs, because I think you guys are the perfect example of a well-oiled machine. And working in that industry as well, I am very much aware of the processes. So I always it's not biased, but it's a little bit of like favoritism and with a salute attached to it. How do we also communicate these things? How do we bring that awareness? Because we are a social media generation, so we're able to tell when something is AI or not. So surely the colleges as well, we should have that same outlook.
Look, I think to me, I like what you said as well. I mean, how one of the things that you do, I mean, we're on social media and we're trying to even to improve that, to really, make sure that information is available. Is because, I mean, the current generation is more about, I said it the other day when I was addressing the conference on entrepreneurship, to say Africa has the biggest connectivity in the world. People didn't even know about it. I share with them the numbers. And I think to me, social media is one of the greatest things that we can really touch most of our youngsters, and really, I mean, what we're working on internally as well is issues around the apps and all those social media platforms. Use TikTok to be able to we're doing videos now, so that when people download, they can be able to see us talking about this and sharing with them some of the reflex that we see in our institution. But as I say, I mean, to me, the social media is one of the biggest platforms that will help us to really reduce this kind of pandemic that is facing us. It is a pandemic because people are doing all these things just to ensure to steal people's money. So and I said to my comms team that, can you please make sure that any media platform that exists, especially the one that our youth tend to play around. Let's just make sure that we flash out there, we share with them, and all these red flags that you're talking about, and even running some of the videos, and even we were even talking about having some of these playing game animations about Bogus and all those, so that it becomes even more interesting. And not only that, we're out there as well. I mean, we move around the provinces. We've been to all 9 provinces, and in some of the far remote villages. And sometimes we have to be there. We go to taxi ranks. We call them the Blitz. We're in Marawastad recently in Pretoria. Last year in November I was in Western Cape and in some of the townships. So we go to community halls. We go to, I mean, where we know that we can find a lot of people, and not only we talk about Bogus, we talk about choice of careers, because those people in remote Mpumalanga don't know. I mean, once I complete matric, we're very fortunate. They don't even know where to go. Once they complete matric, something, I can be a teacher, I can be this. But again, it's through, I mean, we engage through those platforms to really give them opportunities. of what is out there as well. And not only that, there are scholarships in SAQA that they are there in the department website, where people can visit the department website, where I mean people will have opportunity to study in some of our BRICS countries, in Europe. So there's a whole lot of opportunity outside what we have, and that's some of the information that we share, because most of our learners don't even know that, I don't have to study at home. And it's something that is fully funded, especially for those who are disadvantaged, who cannot afford to go to university. And I know one of the biggest challenges that we face is, we talk about single parents, the affordability, or even public institution is very expensive. It's not cheap to go to public institution, let alone people talk about private being expensive. So the prices are more or less similar. But again, those are the things that are still, the students must look into, and we share with them those opportunities that exist out there.
Dr. Makhafola, thank you so much for your time today. I hope it's not the last time we speak. I think one thing that we can look forward to is just the awareness of what SAQA also does for, you're not just putting NQF next to our qualifications, but it's really just asserting and crediting the work that we put in. Because, studying is not easy, first of all. I don't know, people see us studying and walking across that stage, but they have no idea the dedication and almost self-sacrifice that goes into our education. So keep doing it, and I hope we are able to also broadcast some of the work that you guys do across the country.
Appreciate it. I appreciate that, Gwen, and I'm holding to a PhD. Next time when we talk, we'll be in NQF level 8.
I'm crossing fingers. It's not an easy one. Become law is not easy. I'm doing my best, I promise.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the invitation. Much appreciated. Bye.
Sure, bye-bye. That was Dr. Makhapa Makhafola, the Chief Operating Officer of the South African Qualifications Authority. Maranumbu, so this interview triggered me, my girl. Hey, I was just enjoying an education-free January. The portal is open. Next week already, they've sent us our assignments. Hey, it never ends. It is 7:44 Central African time right here on the Oasis.